Cinema Club. I'm Chris.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Honto.
And this episode, we're continuing our halfway to October Scarefest with Urban Legend from 1998. This is a movie I kind of wanted to do, and then I took it off the table. And then you guys, no, let's do it. Do you guys regret?
What was the alternative? What was the other option? Because I remember
Urban Legend 3, Bloody Mary.
Oh, it was between either one of the two.
Yeah. Well, we talked about doing. I really wanted to do all Dawson's Creek character movies, and because we would have done Michelle Williams and H2O.
No, we didn't.
We would have done Joshua Jackson in Urban Legend, and then Katie Holmes in Disturbing Behavior. And I think that would have been a good.
That actually wouldn't have been
trio.
bad, I think.
Hey, speaking of which, there's a joke in this movie where Joshua Jackson gets in his car and he turns on the radio blast, and it's a theme from Dawson's Creek. Yeah. And he's disgusted by it. He's like, oh my God. Which we've talked about this on the show, but Dawson's Creek lost the rights to their theme song.
I have this as my note, so go ahead.
So they don't use it. So like this joke would seem like almost kind of dated because this theme song is not attached to the show anymore.
I wrote the.
You get what I'm saying? You look confused, dude.
I wrote for all the for all the Dawson's Creek fans and how upset they were that they changed the theme song. They should have added the new theme song that's on the Netflix. So he's disgusted, why do they use the theme song? You know.
When we post this episode online, we should use the new theme song when it shows at the beginning of our episode.
Yeah. It's just a montage of us laughing and talking about movies and stuff.
All right, so Urban Legend 1998. My history with this, I used to love this movie. This put me on a huge Urban Legend kick. Okay. I bought 5 or 6 books on Urban Legends. I love Urban Legends.
I thought you were into Urban Legends before this.
I don't know. I mean, this movie came out in 98, so I was only 12 or 13, so I'm not sure. Yeah. I don't want to say what I think about it now, but yes, this movie was huge. Plus, I was into all the Kevin Williamson stuff. I know this isn't Kevin Williamson, but all that Scream era type stuff was big for me. So that's my history with
basically, if a poster had the foreground character followed by the Scream style poster, I was in the front seat of the theater, first row. I'm going to see this movie. And what do I think about this movie now?
No, save it. No,
we'll talk about later. We'll talk about later.
We'll talk about
the podcast.
Let's just say, for mine, I won't say what my opinion was, but I will say I watched this movie on one of those free apps where it's you can watch this movie for free, but there's commercial breaks. It turned a hour 40-minute movie into a 2 hour and 10-minute movie. It was a long night. That's all.
Well, I will say, I don't want to say what platform this movie was on, but the commercials for this movie were at the oddest times.
Yes.
During the movie.
Yes. We didn't watch it together, but we watched it off the same app. Yeah.
Cutting off they're talking about mid-sentence and it just cuts off and it's here's
it almost was. There was about to be a huge scare. It would cut to commercial. And as soon as it came back from commercial, it was blah. And I was this is so ineffective.
There's one where Robert Englund's hiding behind a doorway.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And then they're walking outside of the door, and right when the door is about to open, it cut to a 2-minute commercial, and then it cut back, and it was Robert Englund. He's like, "Got you." And it was wow, that was the worst.
That's exactly how it was.
That was the worst plan.
You were more scared by the surprise commercial than you were with the actual jump scare that they're about to do.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And this is kind of a weird thing, but the quality on certain commercials now match movie quality. So it would almost feel like it was the next scene in the movie. And then I'd be oh wait, no, I'm watching a commercial.
Dude, it was. Yeah. Text would pop up on the screen for these commercials. And I'm why is there text on the screen? Oh, it's a commercial. It threw me off every time.
Better marketing for these these streaming apps that use commercials in between the movies. They should just use commercials from that era, or the year that the movie came out with.
I'm sure that would help all.
I think it would help a lot with these companies.
So much revenue.
What? Pepsi, Pop Rocks, and the new Stabbing Westward CD.
Dude, I would love it. Yeah, Halloween H2O. They have the Creed. They're promoting the new Creed album and everything.
What is life for?
Stop at your local mall to get some Josh Hart at Pogs.
To buy FYE for your entertainment.
Suncoast Video, your one-stop movie stop.
And I don't want to talk about Suncoast. It's a sore subject.
We talked about it before.
It's everything gets brought up, man. I get sad. It was such a cool store.
Right next to the science store. I feel like every mall had a science store. The science store.
It was always the same order of stores too. Like every mall you go to, it's the same.
Because they had like rocks and like fossils and pyrite at the science store, not Suncoast.
Okay.
But all right, let's get into it.
Urban Legend 1998. What do you think it has on Rotten Tomatoes? Matt, we'll start off with you this time.
30.
Honto.
20.
21%. So let's play really quick. Well, because this is interesting. It's an interesting. Urban Legends 2 Final Cut. What does it have on Rotten Tomatoes?
15.
12.
9%.
Whoa.
Okay. Urban Legends 3 Bloody Mary. What does that have?
5. It's got a 5.
Not screened for critics. No score.
That's good. We've never had that guess before.
That's an awesome guess.
40%.
What? How is it higher than what?
I don't
hell?
know, but it is the.
Apparently, it's the best in the series. Maybe we should have done that for the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, they're kidding.
Okay. So Urban Legends had a budget of Matt.
30 mil.
Honto?
Oh, wait. No. Sorry, 10. I'm going to say 10 mil. Because H2O had like 15, right?
I think it was 12, I think, for H2O. 12 or 15.
So H2O, if H2O had more, Urban Legend had less.
You're time traveling, dude. Come back. We're doing the episode.
But yeah, I would say it's like at I would say 8 or 9. I'll say 8, 9.
8, 9?
$89 million. $8 or $9 million.
So if H2O was like hovering around that 12, I'll say 18 because of the sets that they have in this movie.
Oh my gosh.
A way bigger school.
High,
way bigger school than H2O.
Yeah, I'll bring up where the school is too.
Okay.
I just watched the movie with
Matt wins.
Recently.
14 million.
14. Wow.
Oh my gosh, really?
And then let's go through domestic. How much did it make domestically, Matt?
50 million.
Honto?
49 million.
38 million.
Wow.
And then worldwide altogether, how much did it make, Matt?
60 million.
Honto?
49 million.
72 million. So
wow.
On a budget of 14 million, I would say this was a hit. I mean, I'm sure there's some publicity stuff in there and promotions that you could take out. But yeah, so this movie was a hit. So let's go ahead, Honto. Oh, man.
Man, you love just sneezing on these episodes.
Dude, he loves it.
I tried to hold it in. Go ahead.
Honto, what do you got for casting crew?
Directed by Jamie Blanks, which is appropriate because this movie is shooting blanks. Previous episode on the podcast, Valentine.
Did he really? Oh, okay.
Valentine. Another stinker of a movie that we.
Yeah, well, before we get into this, which one do you think is better? This or Valentine? Without really getting into it. I would say this. This is better than Valentine.
This is better. Better.
Okay. Just curious.
Starring Alicia Witt as Natalie. She popped up in Dune as a kid. I think she plays what's his name? Dude from Twin Peaks. Plays
Tom McLaughlin.
Yeah, plays his like sister, I think, in that movie.
Okay.
But she also popped in OG Twin Peaks and the Twin Peaks revival as the same character. 4 Rooms, Mr. Holland's Opus, season 5 of Justified. And then Chris, I think you just saw her. She was in I Care a Lot, the Netflix.
She was?
That's what it says on her IMDb. I'm just reporting
the news
here. I'm just reporting the cast here.
Now you go back and look that up. Okay.
Then we got Academy Award winner Jared Leto as Paul. Got his start on My So-Called Life. And then he popped up in American Psycho, previous eps, Suicide Squad, and Justice League. Requiem for a Dream, Fight Club, Panic Room. Guy's kind of making it a killing here with his movies.
Yeah, he is.
Rebecca Gayheart as Brenda. Previous episode, Scream 2, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She also shows up in Beverly Hills 90210. I think she was on for like a season or 2.
Okay. I forgot she is in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, she's
Brad Pitt's wife.
blurred in the background, but yeah, she's the one that's like on the boat.
Yeah, when he points the harpoon gun towards her.
Yeah.
Yeah, he killed his wife.
Yeah.
Part's awesome. It's like he's wearing like a snorkel mask
because he's just drinking,
beer, and then he just like points the gun. He's like,
and then just hard cuts to the next scene. Doesn't he? Doesn't he just shake his head or something? Or no, that's after because he gets the job at the.
And the best part, Bruce Lee. That's when he shakes his head. He's
when
like,
he's working. No, it's when he's working on the
roof.
On the roof of the house, and he has that flashback. And after it's all done, he's like zoning out. And he's like, and he takes a sip of that beer. And like...
90210, and then From Dusk Till Dawn, The Hangman's Daughter.
Dude, wow. Honto, for the listeners, man, Honto loves to bring up this movie. Honto loves Dusk Till Dawn 3.
I've always been interested in watching this movie.
I've never seen it.
I know it's bad. It's like a vampire. It's a vampire western. I was like, that's kind of cool.
I think so, yeah. And they had,
I can't get through either of them. Bruce Campbell was in the second one.
Is that Texas Blood Money?
Yeah, with Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
Yeah, for like a second.
Because he's on the cover. It's like starring Tiffany Amber Thiessen and Bruce Campbell, but they're only in like the opening minutes.
It's like legit just the opening scene.
Yeah, I think Bruce Campbell like dies in the movie too. So
yeah.
We got Michael Rosenbaum as Parker. He's like DC's go-to guy for voices or acting roles because he plays Lex Luthor on Smallville. And then he's primarily known as the Flash, or voicing the Flash in the Justice League cartoon, and then like a bunch of other different superheroes. But I remember him from the show called Zoe, Duncan, Jack, and Jane, which is like is it WB?
I think it was one of those. I think it was WB.
Yeah, but I remember him getting to start like on that show. We got Tara Reid as Sasha, the American Pie franchise, Big Lebowski, Van Wilder, and Cruel Intentions.
I know she was in Cruel Intentions.
Yeah, I think probably just like a tertiary character.
Sure.
Loretta Devine as Reese, the security guard or police officer. I couldn't figure out which one she was in this movie. But she's in Class Act, Amos and Andrew, which is a Nicolas Cage and Sam Jackson movie from the 90s.
Yeah.
Hoodlum with Larry Fishburne. And then she reprises her role in Urban Legend Final Cut as this character.
I've seen the second one.
I have too.
If you think this one's bad, the second one is.
I remember liking this as a kid and then seeing the next one and being like, this movie's terrible. But
we watched it within the past year. I was like, oh, cool, Urban Legends 2. Maybe it's a good like sleeper hit over the past 20 years.
Wow.
I love
really
is that how you sold it to your girlfriend? You're like, yeah. What if it's better than the first one and we're missing out on something great? But okay,
that's what I'm gonna do.
Now the third one though is like it's real, like it's a it's a ghost story. Mm-hmm. It's a ghost story, right? Because it's Bloody Mary, but it's like a real ghost story. It's not like
a slasher or killer.
It's not grounded in reality. Like I guess I don't know how to really word this.
You're right. Yeah,
but you get what I'm saying.
It's a supernatural.
Yeah. There you go. Ooh.
Allergies, that was tough.
It's like it's 7 o'clock in the morning here.
No, it's not. It's almost noon.
It's really not.
To me, it's like 7 o'clock in the morning.
Dude, that's what we should do is a double feature, and it's Urban Legends 3, and then I'll always know what you did last summer.
The Hangman's Daughter.
The Hangman's Daughter. You gotta get over it, man.
We're not watching. I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
Oh, maybe.
It's
fun. It's fun.
No, we're not watching it. I've seen it too many times in my life to watch it again.
You've never even seen it.
I've seen it twice.
Well, what's one more time?
What is one more time?
So what else you got?
John Neville as Dean Adams, which I actually didn't realize until looking up the IMDb. He is Baron Munchausen in The Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
Yeah.
And then he pops up in X-Files as the well-manicured man, and then Fifth Element, and that's about it that I saw on his IMDb.
Me and Matt, up until like 2 weeks ago, thought that was Christopher Plummer.
I thought it was somebody. Yeah, I thought it was like
I thought it was Ian McKellen or Christopher Plummer.
Definitely not Ian McKellen. No way.
Is what I remembered in my mind that having seen this movie in like 20 years, I was like, oh yeah, I think it's one of them.
Yeah.
Or Max von Sydow. Sorry, Max von Sydow.
Yeah, those are all like all those guys. All those guys are grouped in the same category. Like, the same class of acting. They would not stoop down this slope for this movie.
No.
The girl in the cold open, she looked familiar. I looked up our IMDb, and she was in previous episode, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I think she
dies in it.
Yeah.
Yes, she's walking down the street,
it's like,
and she hears a vamp. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's totally her. Yeah. You putting it together, Matt?
Trying to.
I think
Michelle, the girl that dies at the beginning of this.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to figure out where she is in Buffy.
She gets.
Like she just watched it.
She gets like. I think she gets like kidnapped, and then.
Yes, Rutger Hauer killers.
Like talking to her or whatever.
Yep.
And then we got like a trio of core people: Danielle Harris, Robert Englund, and Brad Dourif in an uncredited role as gas station attendant.
Dude, I always get excited when Brad Dourif pops up and stuff.
I love this guy. He's great.
Yeah, he seems really cool.
You should watch him on Deadwood. He's awesome.
I need to watch that show.
That show's great.
Little known fact, I don't know if you guys knew this. Do you know that Brad Dourif was nominated for an Academy Award?
No.
He was nominated for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which is a fantastic movie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Seed of Chucky.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
no, I was sorry. I should have said Urban Legend for this movie, actually.
All right.
That's all I have for cast and crew.
All right. Urban Legend, 1998. We've watched it. Let's talk about it. So that's going to start every episode from now.
That's better.
We watched it.
You can retire. Let's dive right in.
Yeah. That's true. Okay. So Urban Legend, 1998. It starts off with, I think this is a pretty strong opening.
It's not too bad. It's not too bad.
Actually, I really dig this opening. I think this is sets you up for
because it's like, okay, this is gonna be a good movie.
It's a true urban legend that everyone's heard about, the back seat or whatever,
Well, it's done really well. Okay, so there's so many hidden things they do in this movie. So it cuts to this college girl, and she's driving along, runs out of gas, pulls over, and when she pulls over, there's a gas station attendant, Brad Dourif, who has really intense stutter.
She is so rude to this guy.
100%.
Horrible.
Yeah. And he sees something in the back seat, doesn't tell her, and he goes, "Hey, your credit card's been declined. Come inside. They want to talk to you." And she picks up the phone, and there's just a dial tone, and she immediately goes into defense mode and doesn't even give this guy a chance.
He should have wrote the note down beforehand, person, and keep it down, but there's somebody in the back seat or whatever. Yeah. But instead she's like, freak show.
And she's very rude.
Is Chris, you're our urban legend expert. Is this in the original urban legend as far as the stutter goes?
No, I don't know if there's a stutter, but this is
the previous the one that I've heard is that basically it's a truck driver following the person, and he keeps flashing the lights because he sees a silhouette in the back seat, and then I think stops her, and then she drives off, and it's the same thing where it's trying because the truck driver keeps seeing a silhouette or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, from what I remember,
because I like the stutter. I like the stutter edition, but
it does. Yeah. Well, in the original one, nothing happens. I think the truck driver ends up catching him to her, and he's like, "Oh, there was somebody in your back seat." And she's like, "Oh shit." It's a very kind of
thank you. And then she just drives off and goes home.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. You were a kind sir. So yeah, she flips out, hops in her car, and takes off, and she's just completely distraught. And there's a lot of little things where they try to do little hints at things, and she's singing "Turn Around."
Bright eyes.
And I love this. In her back seat.
I think I was geeking.
She's crying.
Because she's doing this horrible rendition of it, and it's on purpose. Really, and I was like, "Oh, this is a fun way to start this."
Right.
She's the only character that probably has the most character written for her in this whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I was like, "Oh, I Alicia Witt." I mean, regardless of how she's is as an actor, her character is written very boring. She's got nothing to do.
And
I hate this in horror movies where they make everybody around them really interesting except for the main character. The main character is just
the main
plain Jane,
a sad sack of shit the entire movie.
Yeah, just they don't have opinions about things. They're kind of just boring. They're there to just kind of keep the plot going, and
I guess they're just written to be the innocent one out of the group, got nothing going on.
I got to bring this up because, and we're going to spoil the ending for this movie because we're going to talk about it. No, and I'm going to bring it up now because I know Chris has a lot of notes about this too. about who the killer is, right? And I'm confused by the order of events here, of why the killer. Can we talk about like the killer?
Sure.
Are you guys okay? The killer is Gayheart.
Rebecca
and
Gayheart. 90 pound
yes,
Rebecca Gayheart.
Her brother, or no, sorry, her boyfriend was killed by
same thing.
Yeah, same. Spoiler alert.
Sorry.
Her boyfriend was killed by Alicia Witt and the girl that's driving the car in the beginning of this movie.
Yes.
This girl was driving the car that killed her boyfriend at the beginning of this movie. So why would Gayheart kill her first? I feel like she should make her suffer the most, since she's the one who's really responsible for killing her boyfriend.
Or just
you get what I'm saying?
Complete her revenge. Yeah. She killed the girl in the beginning, then kill Alicia Witt, and the movie's over.
Yeah, why is she
from doing an episode on this podcast?
Yes, why is she doing why is she torturing Alicia Witt? Like Alicia Witt was just in the passenger seat. Like I feel like the one that needs to be tortured the most is the girl she kills in the beginning.
I think she even asked that at the end, right? She's like, "Why me?" She's like, "Because it was your car." And then
it is weird, and that's a really good point. Why this should have been reversed, and then Alicia Witt's character dies in the beginning, and then
like the one who dealt the final blow should be like the revenge is on that person or whatever.
Well, and it doesn't even make any sense because when she tells the story later on in the movie about what actually happened, Alicia Witt's like, "Yeah, we both got probation for it." Like, why would Alicia Witt get anything for it? She was just in the passenger seat. Like, she had nothing to do with this.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
anyway. I'm just thinking about it in like in as far as like killer's motivation terms, right?
Yeah.
Like she would be like, okay, you took my boyfriend out of my life. I'm going to take all of your friends out of your life and then leave you last to then explain it all to you.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
But it's like, it's just weird. It's like, why Alicia Witt? Like,
that's a good point. Yeah.
She's just there.
Makes sense.
Okay.
But this first
sorry to spoil the ending, but I had to bring it up now.
So this character is driving. She's really upset, which this whole thing could have been avoided because, like you said, had he just written a note down because he knows he has a really intense stutter.
Yeah.
Like write it down and slide it to her. But that's the thing too, is that they make her look like a jerk. So when she dies, you don't feel bad for her.
Yeah.
And when they do that for her is she calls him a freak show. So you're like, oh, she deserves it now. They do that whole like trope.
She's irredeemable now.
But I do want to say what's really cool is before she takes off in the car, Brad Dourif yelling.
Oh, I love
there's someone in the back seat. Like it's so epic.
Anytime he yells, I love it.
Oh yeah.
It's so great.
Well, it's cool looking too, because it's like raining. Like it's a very epic shot. I think this is really good.
Yeah. Someone's in the back seat.
Yeah. That's pretty good. And so she takes off and she notices that someone's in the back seat. And it doesn't make any sense because from what it looks like, her head gets like chopped off from the axe. But like in the back seat, I don't feel like you. I don't feel like you have a lot of room. Window. Yeah, it's weird how like I don't think that would actually happen.
It's the shot. The way it looks is like if you're swinging the axe, right?
Yeah,
it would come out the driver's side window like it does in the following shot. It would come out like sideways out that driver's side window. But when they show the axe coming out the driver's side window, it's like going straight through.
Yeah, it's like poking,
not like swinging,
like a spear, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a spear instead of like a
swipe,
sideways drive swipe.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, swipers no swiping, right? Is that what they say?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I think they say it on Dora the Explorer.
Okay. Oh, Swiper. Swiper's that monkey, right?
Yeah. But anyways, like the way it would it would swipe through, it would like be at an angle, not straight on against the glass.
It doesn't make sense. There's way too much room in this car, like an imaginative space or whatever that they created to make the shot work, I guess.
Sure.
Doesn't make sense whatsoever.
Not at all. But after this, we have like a really good start to a movie. So I'm like, all right, I want to see where the rest of this goes. It's all going to be as good as this beginning of the film. And so we start meeting all of our characters. And this is in the very next scene, but we have an urban legends class taught by Robert Englund. I think this is one of the better scenes of the movie. At least I'm more engaged in this scene.
This is a trailer. I think a trailer scene. I think they.
It was Joshua Jackson dying in the movie.
On
Pop Rocks. But no, Robert Englund is teaching this urban legends class. And I'll tell you what, this is a weird campus because this is all everybody talks about is urban legends. Everybody that you run into is like, hey, did you hear about this urban legend? Did you know about this?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
it's very
forced. It's like this. So it's like, I love Scream, but everybody in Scream is super movie knowledgeable, and they're making all these movie references, and it's like,
I'll give that, but at least movies are more accessible than I don't think everybody talks about urban legends. I'll give you like Scream's a little bit of a stretch, but yeah,
I feel like there's not that many urban legends in history to like make an entire course load, 15-hour credit hours.
Yeah.
Classes based on urban legends, like it's just not doable.
Hey,
like,
but you know what? I would take it.
I would too.
I'd be all about taking this class.
And then we wouldn't have jobs after because it's like
because you have a kind of like in urban legends.
But what classes?
Hanto and I was gonna say Hanto and I took a folklore class.
Yeah, that was very funny. That prank that you pulled on me in class.
I pulled a prank on Hanto
and a Pepsi.
Yeah, you gave me that Pop Rocks and the Pepsi, and I had to run the toilet real fast. Like, good prank, dude.
No, I thought real quick the prank was the teacher's like, hey, partner up with somebody and make a slideshow based on like a folklore or some kind of it was folklore, and what was it? It was like old like nursery rhymes. No, wasn't it?
It was I think Grim Fairy Tale. I think was.
Thank you. Fairy tales and like folklore.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, go ahead and make a presentation on your favorite one and describe what it's trying to say, blah blah. And as a teacher saying this, I'm already starting to make a PowerPoint on my computer, and I like lean over to Hunt. I'm like, check your email. He's like, okay. And so the teacher is talking, and all of a sudden,
I think you sent me a message like, "Hey, I have the presentation done." I'm like, "Oh, whoa, really?" And then,
then I just watched him open this PowerPoint, and it is titled "My Friend Hanto," and it was like, and it's slow mo zoomed in on like Hanto's face, and there was one where he was like wearing a hat.
They're all like really dumb photos.
They were horrible pictures. Like Hanto likes hats, and it was like a picture of like him like slip.
I was laughing so hard. I think the teacher like looked over, and I almost had to leave the room.
Dude, because
somebody was up there already making a presentation, I think, or like making like on a different project, but somebody was already up there like making a presentation. So I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to leave because I'm about to get yelled at by this teacher.
Oh man, like... and it was probably like one of those like really nervous people that like I feel nervous about giving a presentation, and they go up there and Hanto's in the background just laughing like,
yeah. Oh, I'm gonna leave this presentation bad.
Oh man, we ruined
my hardest up here.
That's horrible, and I feel bad about it.
Dude, Chris.
Now they're gonna do a movie called American Folklore, or they're gonna kill us one by one. That person's gonna get revenge on us. Like, you laughed at my presentation.
Yeah, but
40% Rotten Tomatoes.
But you know what it'll be? It'll be you two will like die first, and then I'll be the one that gets tortured through the movie, and they'll explain to me like, "Well, it was your brother and your friend."
Yeah,
that did it. And I'm like,
heard the story on the podcast, and you didn't do anything about it.
You laughed at it.
You laughed at the story.
Oh my god!
Chris used to write. We took a class together in college. And Chris used to write erotic fiction.
Oh my God.
He used to write like page long like erotic fiction, like, and they were hysterical. And he'd pass them off to me in class. He's like, "Read this." I remember like,
did you say I have the presentation? It's done. Read this.
I got the go up there and read it. I've got the paper done, and I'm like, "Oh,
go up there and read it." That would be great.
Dude, I would geek out so hard in class. That like there's nothing finer in the world than trying to stifle your like laughter.
Oh my god,
it's just gets funnier and funnier. You're like,
yeah, because I think it's like a chain reaction of like you're trying to conceal it, and then you're thinking about like how funny it is still while trying to like pretend that you're not laughing, and then it gets funnier and funnier, and then you're like,
yeah. And like I remember having to leave, and I ran to the bathroom and just laughed my ass off. And there was somebody in the urinals, like just like
he's like,
a piss.
And he was like, "This is the first time I've gone pee at the school in public." So
it's the same guy that was giving this
oh man.
And then it's a revenge story. It's like, "You laughed at the bathroom when I was in there."
I'm an awkward peer. Like I don't pee in public.
I get stage fright easily.
I just read him like.
He ends up killing the guy who made the toilet paper. He's like, I wasn't even there. He's like, yeah, but your toilet paper was in the bathroom while I was trying to pee.
You were teaching that foreign policy class where they wrote the story.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember I used to geek out, and this is a short story, and I hope you think this is funny. But back when I was like 15, 16, I used to sit next to this kid, and anytime the teacher would ask, like, hey, raise your hand if you want to do this. Like, 5 or 6 people would raise their hand, and he'd always raise his and like, I pot a goop. And he kept saying it. And every time he would say it, I would geek. And like, it would get to the point where like, I would cry. So that's my, I thought the pot of goop thing would have been funnier.
What's pot of goop? What was he?
You're just mixing 2 letters up. Like, you're just taking it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So you'd just be like, I pot a goop. He'd say it. And I would tear up every time he did it. So urban legend.
Something we'll never get back. We'll never get back. We're too old for school now.
So many people want revenge on us because of our shenanigans in school.
No, it's just the same guy. It's just the same guy who gave the presentation in your class. And the same guy I laughed at in the urinals. I'm going to kill all of them.
But you made that toilet paper.
Oh, man.
So in this urban legend class, the teacher talks about Mikey from the Life cereal commercials, that he ate Pop Rocks and drank a Coke, and then like his intestines exploded.
Second Mikey Likes It reference in a month we in Matrix when Neo gets his like kung fu skills.
Yeah.
Then he goes, Mikey likes it.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. He's fighting. Yeah, exactly. Stupid.
So he's like, do it. And he's like, anybody want to come up here and demonstrate this? So Rebecca Gayheart gets up there. She doesn't do it because she's scared. Pacey does it, fakes his death. And it's very intense. It's cool as a kid watching this. It's like, oh man, it's a really intense scene. As an adult, it's pretty stupid because nothing's going to happen to him.
Yeah.
But in the midst of all this, Rosenbaum stands up and he plays along on the prank too. He's like, someone call 911. And he points to this kid. He's like, go. That kid went and probably called 911.
Yeah.
And the medics, and the medic's gonna show up here, and this kid's gonna feel like an idiot because someone told him to go call 911 for Pop Rocks.
Yeah.
And
it turns out it's the killer medic from Friday the 13th Part 5. He's like, I'm coming back to kill all of you guys. His eye, Roy. His eye, Roy the killer. You guys suck.
Man. Yeah.
Dude, okay, this will be weird to say though. Do you feel like there's only like a handful of characters that don't like I wouldn't say deserve to die, but like that aren't total assholes in this movie? And it's like I think Tara Reid's one of them, and I think that's like it.
That's it. Yeah,
like,
everyone else is
she's like the only one that's not an asshole. Like everybody else is kind of like is basically asking for it in this movie.
Yeah, well, Rebecca Gayheart's character, I mean, when you don't know she's the killer, I mean, she's fine too. And Jared Leto's fine too. I mean, he's kind of, honestly, but I'm saying, really talk about it, the only person that's really a jerk is Rosenbaum.
Yeah.
But Pacey is too.
Oh, and Pacey, yeah. But dude, Rosenbaum,
and so is the girl in the beginning.
Character. Why would you hang around Rosenbaum's character? Dude,
I don't know. Go to any like, any frat house on any college, and I'm sure there's this guy where you're
absolutely.
Like, why would anybody want to be his friend? He's a dick, and it's
he's the one hosting the party. That's why,
right? Yeah, he's the dude. You could tell they kind of masked him or modeled him after like Matthew Lillard's character from Scream.
Yeah, like
or at least you can kind of see it, that like very in your face animated type thing. So no, after this urban legends class, we cut to Joshua Jackson, who takes Alicia Witt out for a date. So we find out that Alicia Witt was friends with the girl who died in the beginning. And so they end up going to like this like remote place. Man, there's so many things that don't make sense in this scene. So they go to this like remote woods. Pacey tries to make a move, and he's like, all right, I gotta get out of the car. I'm gonna go pee. He walks 10 miles away to go pee. And
like they always do in movies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he ends up getting
stage fright. He doesn't want anybody to laugh at him. Stage fright.
Right. Not again.
Yeah.
So there's so many things I don't even know where to start because he walks away, gets attacked,
Yeah.
Alicia Witt gets out of the car, runs into the killer. And as soon as Alicia Witt gets back into the car, she hears like the scraping on top of the car. And it's Joshua Jackson's feet.
But like,
he's hanging from the trees. Like, one, how did Alicia Witt not see Joshua Jackson above the car? Like, how did she not?
It's the same concept as H2O when the Michael Myers is hanging on the doing the one-arm pull-ups, you know?
Dude, you're not walking around like this, so you can't see anything. Like, how do you not see that?
Yeah.
2, how did Rebecca Gayheart get Joshua Jackson on top of that car?
Like, was the rope pre-rigged, but obviously not because they drove up there and didn't see the rope around the big tree that's literally next door. Next to the...
But regardless, she would have to like drag him up the car or climb up the tree with him.
And hear struggling of him fighting back or literally anything that happens in this movie.
It makes no sense whatsoever. And so Alicia Witt freaks out, takes off, and it pulls Joshua Jackson up to the tree.
Yeah.
And then she ends up reversing really hard because the killer's in front of her now. Joshua Jackson falls on top of the car and ends up dying.
Now, this isn't an urban legend, right?
It is.
It's supposed to, I feel like it's supposed to be like I feel like it's partly based on like the hook hand. Like the scraping.
That's what I was thinking too.
I do vaguely recall like an urban legend because I think there's so many variants of the main core cores or whatever. I feel like I have heard of this story of like the scraping, but it's like the boyfriend was hanging up there the entire time, you know.
It is, and that's what it is. Because they even actually show pictures of it in this movie, like they're going through a book, but the person was upside down, so you heard like the fingernails like scraping on the hood of the car,
blood dripping or something on top of like, the noise of it hitting the roof or something, you know. So I think this is based off of something. What?
It is.
What are you laughing at?
Because like, one of the things I kept laughing at in this movie was like the actual physics of this scene, where like if she would have hit the gas as hard as she did, he would have shot up that tree and like flipped around the tree and then slammed on the ground. She would have just dragged them off. Like, and it's like Pee Wee Herman scream, like,
like it sounds like Brad Dourif scream that you just did.
Just put that.
Because I keep seeing it as like I just watched Naked Gun, so I keep seeing it as like a Norberg thing where he's like whoa, and like he gets like pulled up the tree really fast, and it like it spins around, and then he falls. The rope unhinges, and he falls, and then she just drives off, dragging his body.
And then she drives off, and he's being dragged. And he's like, Natalie.
And then he finally climbs up to the car. It's like, thank God. And she takes off. He's like, whoa. So I'm going to bring a dark note. I was going to say.
That's not a dark note.
It's actually made it a little bit lighter.
Here, speaking of lighter, good segue. Man, I wanted to dye my hair like Joshua Jackson so bad when I was younger.
Oh, I know you're saying like now is like.
Oh my gosh!
Don't do that.
I'll do it before the next episode.
We'll do.
I should have done it for this episode.
3, 2, 1 on that. We'll do a 3, 2, 1 on that. We'll cut that out of the episode.
Dude, we should have all dyed our hair for this episode.
So because I have hair.
Oh,
this entire time, urban legend.
You got a beehive. Remember that urban legend with the beehive?
Oh,
with the spiders.
Yeah.
So one of the things I read about on the trivia for it was like why the killer wears a parka.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and this is really dumb, but like they meant to have the movie take place in the wintertime, and then when they got there, it wasn't cold enough for like snow or anything, or like I think they filmed in the wrong season, so like there's no snow on the ground, so they didn't change the parka.
Oh,
they just kept it.
They spent the money; they have to use it.
Yeah,
well, and it's better than if they were like
stupid.
We were going to film this. We were going to film it underwater, and so the killer was going to wear a snorkel and flippers. And we decided to keep it at college, but we just kept the same snorkel and flippers.
Yeah. But like, it's stupid that like they were just like, yeah, we'll just keep it. And it's like there's a scene in the movie where she goes to warn Rebecca Gayheart like while she's swimming that the killer's coming up behind her. And it's this girl, and then the killer's wearing the parka in the swimming pool area. And then right when the killer gets to Rebecca Gayheart, she takes the parka off, and it's this girl, and it's like that's wearing a parka in the middle of summer, or like in the middle of like spring or like whatever. It's obviously not winter, and it's like why the hell is she wearing a parka? Like,
God. Yeah.
Well, dude, and even on top of that, 4 people in this movie have that exact same coat.
Yeah, they do. It's like
it's not winter.
Yeah.
And they all have parkas.
At least Robert Englund has an excuse. He's like, because I use it for my urban legend class. And it's like, cool, that makes sense, kind of. But everything else,
a stretch.
Yeah, everything else is like, why are they wearing this parka? Like they just.
I know it could have been cool if it was like a starter jacket.
Yeah, cool. Like starter logo.
Yeah.
Like their favorite football team on the back of it or something.
The Raptors. I think the Raptors was a starter jacket that everybody had. I had a Raptors starter jacket.
The Toronto Raptors.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Speaking of, so really quick though, another bit of trivia since you brought up Toronto. This campus was the University of Toronto, and it's the same campus that was used on another Joshua Jackson movie, The Skulls.
Oh,
that's cool.
Interesting. Cool.
Future episode?
No, I just watched that this year.
I've never seen it. Is it pretty bad?
It's boring. It's kind of like nothing happens in it. It's kind of just a slow movie. But all right, let's go back into this.
So real quick, I want to talk about how raunchy this radio show is that Tara Reid does.
Very raunchy.
I don't think this would get away on a college campus.
No.
I feel like I'm a very open person, and I was even kind of like, this is really graphic. Like,
yeah, they talk about protein first shakes and
right,
volcanoes erupting.
Yeah, they started off really extreme.
They go pretty far into it. Yeah.
I feel like all the jobs on this college campus are kind of like even if you like break down like Jared Leto's role, he's like I'm in charge of the school newspaper, and you're like, dude, you're like 19 years old. He's like, I'm trying to win a Pulitzer, and I'm like,
dude, it's a stretch for sure. Speaking of the radio show, I do want to bring up Tara Reid later on says she's talking about the girl who dies at the beginning, Michelle.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
She was like, they told me that she was listening to my show when she died. And I'm like, how did they know that she was listening to her show when she died? That doesn't make any sense.
Plus, there's a tape in her car.
Yeah, she was listening. Bright Eyes,
or that. I mean, that's what would have been playing.
Yeah, and it could have been on that, tuned on to that radio station.
Yeah.
But 1, how did they know that? And then 2, why would anybody tell Tara Reid, like, hey, I'm a cop?
Who gives a crap? How is that like important evidence that you got to tell somebody to solve this murder? Or
it's
whatever?
Not whatsoever. Yeah. So we find out that, I don't know if it's around this time, but oh no, this is when they talk about Pacey's probably just playing a prank on everybody.
Yeah, he's a practical jokester on campus.
Yeah, and so they do this. When everybody dies in this movie, there's a reasonable explanation.
When they disappear, or any of like the funny characters in a horror movie, it's like they're probably just playing a prank on you. Like,
well, they've already said, like, the first one with Michelle, they're like, oh yeah, there was that gas station attendant. He's the one that killed her. And they're like, oh, Pacey, he's gone. He's on vacation. And then our next death, we have Danielle Harris, who is Alicia Witt's roommate. And earlier in the film, she's having sex with some guy. Alicia Witt walks in, apologizes for walking in, puts her headphones in, goes to bed. And so what happens is Danielle Harris is on like this goth chat line, which I will say the soundtrack's pretty decent. Sometimes, I mean, it's like Rob Zombie, Stepping Westward. There's some good songs in there. But she's cranking up music, smoking cigarettes on this chat line. And she wants to meet up with this guy. And the guy's like, yeah, let's meet up. She's like, cool, tell me what room you're in. She leaves her room to go get freshened up for like a second, which doesn't make any sense. And then in the meantime, the killer sneaks in and says, I'm in your room. How did the killer text that he was, whatever? None of this makes any sense.
Mobile phone, I guess. Like, I know it's like years before the time, but that's the only explanation. Unless he had she had a setup in the closet or something, where typing her instant messages
the entire
AOL
time.
Or whatever. Yeah. But this
she
dorm room is like, do you guys notice this dorm room? Like, the sizing of this dorm room is like a castle room. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah, when you put it that way, I mean, dorms are generally pretty small.
When I lived in the dorm my freshman year, it was like literally just a walk-in closet. It was so small.
I believe it.
Like, this place is like really nice.
That's a really good point, actually. So Rebecca Gayheart pops out of nowhere, ends up like killing Danielle Harris by choking her on the bed. Alicia Witt walks in, thinks she's having sex again, so she apologizes, walks to her bed, and we find out the next day that Danielle Harris died.
No, committed suicide.
But they make it look like a suicide.
Yeah.
Which there was no point in. I don't know what Rebecca Gayheart's motives are in this movie. I don't know if she's just trying to kill everybody around Alicia Witt to make her go crazy. I don't really fully understand. But Danielle Harris dies, and Alicia Witt looks on the wall and it says, "Aren't you glad you didn't turn on the light?" Which I do remember that urban legend. There's different variations.
I do remember that one. Yeah,
I don't remember that one.
This one is like the hiding under the bed the entire time. That's like the urban legend.
Yeah, the way it's told is this girl is like freaked out at her house, and she hears a noise, and she's laying in her bed, and she puts her hand down to feel for her dog, and her dog licks her hand. She wakes up the next morning, the dog's killed, and then on the wall it says dogs can lick too.
Yeah.
Or humans can lick too.
Yeah.
Which I always thought was a really creepy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Alicia Witt is like, she's got to be like, in the past 72 hours, she's watched 3 people die, and she's really holding her composure really well on this. But the cops are talking to the dean, and the dean's the one who pretty much rules it as like, it was just a suicide.
He should have no opinion whatsoever in the case.
None. And then they say it's a suicide. There had to be marks on Danielle Harris's neck from being strangled.
And also, if she is suicide, how'd she write with her own blood on the walls that are like literally 50 feet high up in the air? Like,
right? Yeah,
makes no sense whatsoever.
The logic in this movie is 100% not there whatsoever. But no, this is when we do find out that I think Alicia Witt talks to Jared Leto about this. She talks about how her and Michelle, the character from the beginning, were driving down the street one night, and they're like, "Hey, you know that old gang initiation joke where you turn off your lights, and if someone flashes their lights at you, you chase them down?" She's like, "That's what we did to this one guy. It got out of hand. He ended up getting a wreck, and he died." This is not a prank. This is murder. Like, this is not like they make it out as
they're part of the gang now.
It's not, and they're like laughing while they're doing it. And I guess I'm supposed to, at this point in the movie, I have no connection, or I don't connect at all with this main character because she's a murderer. This isn't fun. This is not a
honestly
prank.
It would have been I think like as like a better way. There's a couple ways this movie could have been better like written. And I feel like the urban legends need to be a lot stronger, and we need to know I feel like we kind of need to know what the urban legends are like, before going in.
Establish them in a class, or like establish them at some point before it actually happens, not like making it like, as they go.
The Michael Rosenbaum one, I don't know what the hell that one was. Like with the Drano down the throat. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll get there on that one.
I feel like it would have been way more of an interesting story as if you were following this character. And you're like, why is this killer going after her? And then you don't find out the reason until the very end. And then you find out that she sucks. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh, like, and then all of a sudden, like, your like sympathy, like, switches over to the killer's side. And you're like, oh yeah, this girl totally deserves it.
And now you're rooting for the bad guy. Get ready to root for the bad guy.
Within the last 10 minutes, I'm trying to think of the movie that has done that. There are a couple that have done that kind of like formula, but I think that'd be way more interesting. I think they bring this in too early, and this is the reason that they don't focus on the girl who gets killed in the beginning in the car. They don't make her the main character because she's the one who is driving the car. That's probably why they make Alicia Witt's character the main character, so she's kind of like in the middle where you're like, oh well, she was there.
That's a good point,
but she didn't really do it. So it's like but it's stupid because it's like I said, the killer's motivation to do all this to just her is kind of dumb.
That's a good point. You kind of say that though. I know what you're saying. Now I understand why they picked Alicia over Michelle. So
they should have just left this flashback for the end of the movie. Show it off. Her and be like, you killed my boyfriend, and then they show the flashback, and it's like, holy shit.
I agree.
She kind of deserves all the shit that's has come her way.
Because the reveal at the end, not to really talk about it yet, but it's kind of like, okay. Like you kind of, you find out, you're like, all right, but if they had that flashback, you've been like, oh, this is why it's happening. But the next scene we have is the dean in the garage, which I always thought was super brutal because
it's It's stupid and brutal.
Classic, the classic urban legend of guy on tire spikes. That famous story that everyone's heard of.
And it says, and then he looks up on the wall and it says tire spikes can kill people too. And he's like, oh. So the dean goes, checks the back seat of his car out of paranoia, nothing there. Turns around because he hears the sound, and he gets his ankle slashed.
Ugh.
So he starts crawling on the concrete, and instead of rolling out of the way of this car that's coming towards him, which this drives me crazy in movies. I don't know if we've talked about this.
It's a Prometheus logic of the ship that's crashing, and Charlize Theron's running along with the
move either way, left or right.
Left or right. Go.
Either way.
But yeah, and he stays right in the middle.
If I can just get through these spikes.
Yeah.
Like what was a lot? Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna out army crawl this car.
Yeah,
like it's basically
that's what he
logic.
does. He stays right in the middle of this car as the car is in neutral, rolling down this hill. He like lays on these like tire spikes. He's like, no, and then this car runs over him, and it's stupid. It is disturbing, but it's stupid at the same time.
Yeah, it's so stupid. It's so stupid.
It's like it's if he was like army crawling towards like a gun. And then the car's coming towards him, and he like blows his brains out, like to avoid that death.
Classic urban legend.
I don't want to get ran over. I'd rather be spiked. You know what I mean? Like it's that kind of like, it's like what is going on here?
No way, I'm going out with this classic urban legend.
I'm going to ruin your urban legend. So what happened to him? Oh, his ankles were cut. He got run over by a car. He blew his brains out, and he got spiked. Like, oh my god!
Like the urban legend.
Yeah, I've heard that one before.
So we continue on this whole thing where I guess there was some kind of campus murder years ago, and Robert Englund's character was the only one that like survived or something. I don't know. It's this subplot they try to like.
That's back. I don't even remember this.
I like this, so I do like this. Yeah, I kind of dig it. Like
and they're trying to make you think that Robert Englund's the killer.
Like he's got PTSD or something of the situation, and he's enacting revenge because he's crazy now.
Yeah, but what it sets it up for too is like not only as a red herring, but it sets up for the reason why the dean's like kind of like stifling all the murders that are happening.
That's okay. Yeah. I can see that. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah,
because they did it in the past with this one. Like this one's like considered an urban legend, but it really did happen.
Okay.
And the dean, the dean just like I said, didn't made sure it didn't get out.
Okay. I wish that was a little more clear, but I like that concept. I think I just went up Rotten Tomatoes % in my score. So thank you.
A whole percent.
So to celebrate this, we're at 1%. To celebrate this tradition or whatever happened 20 years ago, they have this huge party, and this is another example of just nobody talks about this stuff. But like Tara Reid is sitting there at this party, and this guy comes up, and they're playing Roller Coaster on the speakers. And he's like, "Hey, can you hear this song?" He's like, "That's Scream. That's a real scream. Someone died in the studio." And Tara Reid's like, "Okay." That's the end of that. Like, they're just like,
they're trying to like sprinkle urban legends at their convenience, I guess. Just like,
it's whatever.
This basically sets up her death. So I'm assuming this is like her urban legend supposed to be the
I had a
love
note.
roller coaster.
That makes sense.
A note was how's Tara Reid's death an urban legend, but you saying that makes it okay. Went up another percent.
Another percent. A whole
we're at
2 now. A whole 2% now.
There's some deaths that are in this movie that just don't make any sense, like why they would get it. Tara Reid's one. It's like I'm like, why is Tara? She's like barely in the movie.
Yeah,
yeah. And like it's just like it's so much effort to kill her, and it's like but she has like really no affiliation with this group besides being Michael Rosenbaum's girlfriend. And I don't even think her and Alicia Witt really talk in this movie.
No, and they're only in the scene where she's in the library finding that Kama Sutra book, and then
it's really it.
And then the beginning discussion of urban legends. This is what an urban legend is, guys.
Yeah,
it's like literally just those two scenes.
if this movie's like logic is basically like any of us could die just for talking to just the person that's the main antagonist, you know what I mean? Yeah. And like even the dean, like why the hell's the dean die? Like, and he dies in a way that like I guess is an urban legend. We still haven't established what urban legend that is.
Guy on tire spikes.
Yeah. We just
It's a classic.
But like at the same time, like why does he die? Like, what's the purpose of him dying?
He's an asshole, I guess.
I guess it would make sense with him dying is to make you think if you were watching this for the first time that Robert Englund did it.
Yeah.
Okay, that would make sense. 30%? But like, but the Tara Reid death just doesn't make any sense. It's like why her? Like she's like, and the Danielle Harris one kind of makes sense
because it's like literally in the same room as Alicia Witt, but
I feel like if they would have made like Danielle Harris be a part of Robert Englund's class or something like that, and that would have made more sense.
Yeah, have a connection to the group somehow, other than just being a roommate or a random roommate or whatever.
I just feel like there's like if you put more logic into the screenplay, like it could be a really good movie, like a really good slasher film.
Definitely potential here for sure. It's just that it's like a muddled mess. It's just a mess.
Yes. And I think it's too long. I think if you really, I feel like I say this about a lot of movies, but you can make this a really.
Oh, go ahead.
I think you say, oh my God, go ahead.
You guys are so
go
cute.
Ahead.
After you, my friend.
This movie, cut it down to an hour and 25.
Yeah.
And even if it's not a great movie, at least it's a fast-paced movie. There's a lot of scenes that nothing happens. Like the pool scene where she's swimming. Cut that out. We don't need that at all. Like,
that Kama Sutra library scene where it's just like it's literally a scene for Tara Reid's character. Like that's it.
She's a sex
so
addict,
you could set her.
basically.
You could set her up to die later on. Like
Yeah.
because we haven't seen enough of her.
Yeah,
and she's in those scenes.
Yeah.
I'll agree with you on it. I think it just kind of falls down on the writing on this. Like if the urban legends were tighter, if the motivations made sense, if there was actual logic, like in the story where
tying each person to their death or whatever, some way, shape, or form, like they would make. Yeah, they just don't establish or define the urban legends well enough to be like, oh, that's crazy how they tied that in or whatever.
Yeah,
it's just like it's a real choose your own adventure with this.
And the fact that like the hook isn't really like the hook's like the biggest urban legend, and I feel like it doesn't take any. I think the reason why they probably avoided the hook was because of I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah, because I think I think it's a year before, right? I Know What You Did. I think it was like 97. I think, right?
Yeah, because like honestly, if I Know What You Did Last Summer didn't exist, there would be no reason not to make this movie about a guy with a hook on his hand that kills people.
Yeah,
you know,
100%. Yeah,
that being the biggest urban legend, and wrapping all the other urban legends around that.
No, I definitely agree. Well, I would actually say the biggest urban legend. Actually, this is a good segue. But this next scene, Michael Rosenbaum, he like goes off on this party because Jared Leto's trying to save everybody. Like, hey, tell Reid to go home. There's a killer out.
Mm-hmm.
Rosenbaum goes on this 10-minute rant just so they could set up his death, like show, hey, he's a jerk. He deserves to die.
Yeah.
And he does this whole speech, gets a phone call, and it's like the call coming from inside the house, which I think is the biggest urban legend personally.
Mm-hmm.
With the babysitter.
I'll give you that.
And it's kind of cringeworthy because as soon as this scene opens, I'm thinking of like, oh man, they're totally ripping off Scream right here. Because like you hear like the caller, like you're gonna die tonight and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, this feels too much like Scream. Get rid of this. Like
you're copying at this point, you know.
Yeah. And he even says something like, hey, is this the urban legend where blah blah blah? And then the killer goes, no, this is the one about the dog in the microwave.
Yeah.
He runs, and you got to set that up. No one knows about this urban legend with the dog in the microwave.
I've heard of it, but like, they didn't establish it other than the
fact
what I
mean. Establish it in the movie.
Other than the fact that he has a dog. That's the only thing that they've done to set
all
it
it
up.
is.
So.
And because the whole urban legend is an old lady, her dog gets wet, and to dry it, she puts the dog in the microwave and explodes or dies.
Yeah.
But Michael Rosenbaum opens this microwave, and this dog exploded, which would not happen whatsoever. This is totally extreme, and it's just it took me out of the movie.
And also, nobody noticed either a person putting a dog in the microwave or a person wearing a
scraping
a huge parka, walking around this party or whatever. and the dog, dog scream or anything. Like,
why are you wearing a parka? It's summertime. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. What are you doing? Dude, what are you doing?
I'm so high. So I want to talk for a second. Then I want to ask you guys like favorite urban legends for a second. Let's get off. Like we'll talk about the movie in a second, but I want to talk about like what are your guys' favorite urban legends?
Well, while we're thinking about it, let me finish this scene real quick.
Okay, yeah.
Because Rosenbaum sees his dead dog. He's disgusted by it. Runs 17 floors up to the 7th floor of his house where there's nobody at.
Yeah.
Throws up in a toilet, gets knocked out, tied up to the toilet. Which again, this is Rebecca Gayheart doing all this stuff. When you like really think about what's going on, and Rebecca Gayheart puts Drano and Pop Rocks down his throat to kill him, and it's supposed to be a whole play off the Pop Rock thing earlier.
Yeah, but she's just killing him with Drano. Like that's not the story.
Why are you wasting your time with this Pop Rocks? Yeah,
you're just making up. You're making up elements of urban legends at this point. Like
stick to your thing or not. Like
yeah.
And I mean, I think with the Dean thing, I think there is something with the ankles being slashed. I think that's part of an urban legend.
But still,
you can't
tire spikes.
Sprinkle in, you can't sprinkle in like a second of something and be like, oh, just like the urban legend.
Like they should have just gone ahead and did like the microwave with Michael Rosenbaum instead of this made up urban legend with or Pop Rocks and then Drano instead of soda.
Like putting Michael Rosenbaum in the microwave,
like his head in the microwave or something.
Oh, okay.
which they do in their remake of Last House on the Left. They do a microwave death in that movie, and it's really crazy.
Do they?
They do. They sure do.
I've seen that movie one time, maybe 20 years ago.
The remake?
Yeah, the remake.
Oh, the remake. No, I've never seen the remake.
Yeah,
it's Tony Goldwyn, isn't it?
He's the dad. I think Monica Potter is the mom.
How does that work? Microwaves don't work unless the door's shut.
Well, you're just gonna have to watch that movie now so you can understand.
Yeah, no, they don't work. They've always never worked unless the door was shut. Like I've never seen a microwave that worked with the door open.
There's probably a way. I'm not sure.
You got to watch the movie.
Yeah, you got to. Yeah, save it for the movie.
Save it for the movie. All right. So favorite urban legends. I feel like a lot of the ones we discussed are a lot of my favorite ones.
Okay.
I used to have this book, man, and it was like my favorite book of all time.
The Encyclopedia of Urban Legends. It was like a comic.
Yeah, it was a comic, and there was like 150 urban legends in this thing, and it was drawn really well, and it was just a really cool book. And I know if I looked at it now, I could point out a bunch of my favorites, but I can't think off the top of my head. I mean, like, there's classics for a reason. Actually, that dog one with the humans can lick too. Or dog.
Yeah, that one's creepy. Yeah,
that one's super creepy. They should have done that somehow, or they should have done that with Michael Rosenbaum's character, the dog under the bed or something.
Yeah, you've already got a dog. Just do that.
Yeah. They're right there. Jeez, come on.
I think I would have preferred it too if they would have went like a 7 route, and this guy whoever the killer was, had been planning it for a year. To set stuff up, because like would be a really dope one is, and this kind of sounds stupid, and I realize it's gonna sound dumb when I say it out loud, but the spider eggs in the beehive in the cheek.
I was gonna bring up the spider bite one because that's from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I think there's a story like that.
Yeah, a lot of the Scary Stories Tell in the Dark are urban legends. But it'd have been awesome if you planted like black widow eggs in some person's hair and it came out and like killed them at night, and all the black widows are like, that'd be a really twisted death, That'd
be crazy.
Yeah, that'd be kind of terrifying. But like I would have to say like some of my favorites, I'm pretty sure this is an urban legend, but it's the party, it's like a slumber party, and somebody dies, and somebody had died before, and they're like, go to the graveyard if you're not afraid, stab the knife in the grave.
Yeah.
And the girl tries to get away. She dies of fright because she stabbed the knife through her dress into the grave.
It's like the hand grabbing her or something,
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good one.
This is why I was a terrible camp counselor. This is a scary story. Didn't say any of the details. There's an awesome rendition of that in a Twilight Zone episode with Lee Marvin, and it's a Western, and it's a really cool Twilight Zone episode.
Okay.
It's the same urban legend.
Vaguely recall that one because they did a couple of Westerns, but
it's a really cool one. Check it out. And the surprise, there's like a surprise, as far as like cast members go, it's really cool. Like I think Lee Van Cleef's in it.
Nice.
But yeah, awesome Twilight Zone episode.
Cool.
That would be one of my favorite. The Hook is one of my favorites.
Hook is like I think the number one. I feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like the babysitter, like the calls from coming from inside the house, is like is like another popular one. They did that with Carol Kane in When a Stranger Calls. Was that movie back in like the 70s, and they did like a sequel to it, which is not good, but I feel like that's like another popular one that they basically adapted into Scream in a way, where it's like the killers come from, or the calls from inside the house, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of these are like you could say the slasher genre comes from all these urban legends, because even Halloween's a combination of the callers coming from inside the house and the hook. So it's a combination of those two urban legends.
Even kind of like Nightmare on Elm Street at the end, I feel like it's kind of like the killer was inside the house because the door is locked, you know, and the dreams are basically like, you know, at the end when she brings him into reality or whatever, he's chasing around the house and the cops are investigating somewhere else, you know, so it's kind of like the same kind of concept in a way.
Yeah, even the idea of like dying in your sleep could be like an urban legend. Like, oh yeah, no, I knew somebody who had a nightmare that was so scary they died.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
I don't know why this one popped in my head, but there was an urban legend, and it was in that book too with the comics. But it was a girl, and she goes grocery shopping. She puts her groceries in her back seat. She gets in her driver's car, and then all of a sudden, she gets shot in the back of the head and falls in the steering wheel. And then like the cops show up and like, hey, ma'am, you okay? And she's like, yeah, someone shot me in the back of my head. I can feel my brains are coming out of my head. And then like the cop tells her like, oh no, the car was just so hot and you bought some biscuits and the biscuits exploded and hit you in the back of the head. And like, that was it. That was the entire like urban legend. Like,
really?
And I even,
it was next to some ketchup packets. So you thought it was, so you thought you know.
God. And then there's like ones with like snakes and toilets, which that's terrifying.
I think another one is like the alligator flushed down or the lizard or whatever flushed down the toilet, and then it became a huge alligator in the sewers, which is like they made that into a movie. I think it was just called Alligator. I think in the 70s, and then they like made that into a thing in Resident Evil 2, where you're fighting an alligator in the sewer. And
100%. You know? Yeah, because I think the whole story behind that was that people would go to some like tropical island and buy like baby alligators, and they'd bring them home to the United States, and they'd be like, oh, I got kind of bored with them, flush them down the toilet, and then they would grow big in the sewers, and then the sewers were filled with chud. So
the alligators just turned into chuds.
Whew, man, that twist at the end I just told even got me excited. Like chud.
Oh man, Lord. Not chud.
Dude, I love chud.
I haven't seen it. I need to see it.
That's the dumbest sentence I've ever said, but
yeah.
I love
that one for the show one day.
I'm sure we can find another dumb sentence in this podcast.
All right. So Urban Legends continues where the killer goes after Tara Reid's character at the radio station.
Yeah.
And this goes on for too long. This is just, it's a cat and mouse thing.
I'm bored. I'll move on with it. Yeah, I feel like her chase is like the longest in the movie, probably.
It goes on for a long time.
It's there for a while.
Yeah. So Tara Reid ends up dying. And then somehow, at some point, Alicia Witt, Rebecca Gayheart meet up with Jared Leto. Mm-hmm. They take off together. And while they're at a gas station doing something, they smell something. Open up Jared Leto's trunk, and it's Robert Englund's character, and he's dead. Yeah. So instead of going to get help inside the gas station, they take off and run into the woods, which makes complete sense. And Jared Leto like chases them. Like he doesn't even like, why are they running?
Yeah.
He just goes after them. So there's this huge chase scene between the three of them. Rebecca,
you've never run after somebody and like not know why they're running.
You just see someone run, you run with them.
Like, why are you running?
Why are we running?
Yeah.
Why are we running?
He's also scared for some reason. Like, what's going on?
It's like that urban legend. So Alicia Witt's by herself at this point.
There's somebody behind you.
It's you.
It's
you.
There's someone on your tail. Alicia Witt gets picked up by the janitor.
Yeah.
Who Alicia Witt gets really freaked out, and she's like, "Hey," so she sees like the parka in his car. She's like, "Please let me out of this car." And he's like, "You're fine. I got you." And could you imagine if she would have been like, "Hey, let me out of this car," and the janitor's like, "Okay," and like let her go, and then took off, and she's like, he wasn't the killer. Like,
yeah, because the car, the car.
I should have stayed in that car.
But man, she just like Brad Dourif, she treats this character like the earlier character in the beginning, the cold open, that girl is to Brad Dourif treating him like trash.
Yeah.
Alicia Witt is the same with this janitor throughout the entire movie. She treats this guy like trash the entire time, to the point where she's like hitting into his shoulder, like, "Sorry, excuse me," like gives him a shoulder check and everything. And then
shoulder check.
Yeah, shoulder check. Get out of my way.
Sorry, sideburns.
Well, yeah. I was also going to mention, because we mentioned it in the last episode, this guy has cinema's greatest butt cut. His hairstyle is like butt cut.
Butt cut.
For some reason, when I thought of him, I could see him as the janitor from Billy Madison. When he's like, "Hey, sideburns, you want some of this?" He got it. And that's our Adam Sandler reference for this episode.
There you go.
So
you know what drives me crazy in these movie cliches, but as far as like car chases or things that are happening in cars, why don't people just hit their brakes? Like if somebody was driving next to me and they skid up against my car, I would probably hit my brakes. That'd be my first instinct, and I'd take out my insurance card. I'd have my phone on hand and like, not today. No,
and so
but
the truck driver, the janitor is having a conversation with the killer. Like, so how do we do this? So we're exchanging insurance cards.
Instead of just going, like, they're both driving, and he's like, "Oh wait, you want to go ahead? No, you go ahead." And they're just scraping sides of their cars, like. And then it happens at the end when we get our scare with like Rebecca Gayheart coming out of the back seat.
Too many
like,
cars.
Why is Jared Leto driving the car still? Why doesn't he just hit the brakes and then like put the car in park and get out of the car?
Why continue to go on
the guardrail or whatever?
That's actually a really good point.
Yeah, like why are they drive as if like the brakes are disabled? Like we have to just keep going.
I have to make this movie exciting somehow.
I do want to get to the end of this because something great comes up here in a second. It's probably my favorite part of the movie.
Okay.
So they get into a wreck. The janitor dies, right?
I guess. I don't know. Yeah.
Alicia Witt takes off and she goes to like the haunted hall that everybody talks about. She hears a scream.
Yeah.
Up in the window. So she goes up. She finds all these dead bodies. And then she sees Rebecca Gayheart lying on the bed. And Alicia Witt doesn't do anything, and she's like, "Oh man!"
Like she just kind of
she does.
Oh no, she's dead.
Rebecca Gayheart sits up, and then it cuts to black. And then I do like this shot because it's like Rebecca Gayheart is revealed as the killer, and it's like a stretched image.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like wavy. It's really cool looking. I don't know if it fits this movie, but it's a cool shot.
Yeah.
And then basically Rebecca Gayheart explains why she did everything. Why she killed all 13 people, which she doesn't explain.
My first question to Rebecca Gayheart, how'd you carry all the bodies upstairs?
Right? Oh yeah, this is very detailed. This is like a Jason Voorhees like museum of like when he would like put his bodies up.
Mm-hmm.
Like another thing that happens where you're kind of like, when you really think about it in retrospect, like how did she do all this?
Right.
But she explains that the girl in the beginning who died, and Alicia Witt, killed her boyfriend when they did the initiation thing.
Yeah.
And they actually hint this earlier because when Alicia Witt tells this story to Rebecca Gayheart, that's who she tells it to, about the car initiation.
Mm-hmm.
Rebecca Gayheart goes, "Oh man, that sounds horrible." And she's like, "For everyone involved." And she says that. And I'm like, "Oh man,
the head
it was. I'll find the clip," but she's like, "For everyone involved."
But like at one point somebody walks by and they're like, "Hey, Alicia," and they're like, "Hey," she's like, "Is that one of your friends too?" Like, should I kill him?
Pulls out like a notepad.
Everyone involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guy with butt cut. Janitor with butt cut.
Shoulder check, butt cut.
Robert Ingy.
Guy on tire spikes.
So Rebecca Gayheart explains her whole thing of why she did this to get revenge because she loved her boyfriend. Jared Leto shows up and he tries to do this like, dude, we did it, babe, we did it. Like,
dude, this kind of plays off like Cotton Weary from Scream 2 trying to like be buddy with the main killer, but then it fails miserably because she's like, put your hands up or whatever, like get over there.
That's exactly what happened. That's a really good point.
Future reference for any like serial killers that are coming after me. This is probably what I would have done too.
Guy,
right.
This is a note to the guy in the American folklore class.
Good job, guy at urinal. Good job. Who I laughed at. I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing at erotic fiction written by my brother.
I just want to explain that.
Write down Chris's name.
Rebecca Gayheart doesn't buy any of this. And then this is when like the security guard cop shows up. They get into like an entanglement. And then the cop gets shot. And then Rebecca Gayheart gets shot and the bullet propels her out the window.
Yeah.
Via Darkman at the end of when that explosion happens. You know what I'm talking about?
when he's flying up to the camera in the sky, like, oh!
Yeah. And then it cuts. And so we have two characters left. We have I was gonna say Paul Rudd.
Jared Leto.
Paul Allen. Jared Leto.
Paul Allen. Paul Allen.
We have Jared Leto, and then we have Alicia Witt, and then we have the cop.
Oh,
and then the two of them take off in the car, and then Alicia Witt goes,
this is so stupid.
She goes, I really hope that blah, blah, blah is going to be okay. And Jared Leto's like, she'll be fine. The paramedics are on their way. They left her there?
They left her to bleed to death, and they left her with all of the bodies up there.
Yeah, and then I'm sure all the cops are showing up. And where are they going? Where are they going?
Because when she got shot, it looked like she got shot with like a shotgun blast. Her like intestines were like, go on. Paramedics will get me.
Yeah, it makes no sense because like I imagine the cops show up and the only person alive is they're gonna be like, I mean, based off the logic in this movie, they're gonna be like, the person who's still alive is probably the serial killer. It was her, the campus security. And then she's like, you know what? And then like she gets blamed for all of it. And it was like, but like I agree with you, Chris. This is what I wrote down in my notes. I'm like, where the hell are Jared Leto and Alicia Witt going?
Going home?
Well, that's the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy that my best friend was a serial killer.
It doesn't.
But they live on campus. So where the hell are they driving to?
True. I didn't even
where are they going?
Good point.
Where are they going?
Like,
well, then,
and the cops
of that.
Sorry, go ahead, Chris. I'm talking all over you.
You're good. It just none of it makes any sense. Like when they got down. Okay, because I'm assuming Jared Leto got back to his car after he chased Alicia Witt, drove to like the campus, right?
Yeah.
So his car is there. Rebecca Gayheart's body is probably next to the car. Did they just get in that car?
No, I think what happened is when she got shot out of the window, she flew sideways into the window of the Jeep. Into the trunk. And then
into the back seat, like,
yeah.
Like, whoa.
Whoa.
That was weird.
Whoa.
I'll just wait here.
Yeah. Get over.
You're just like, you hide in your shirt.
Oh man, these are all visual gags. We're doing visual gags.
Man. Yeah, we're doing visual gags for the YouTube episode. But like, it's stupid because where the hell are they going?
This is so stupid.
Yeah, a lot of paramedics are on the way. The night is done. As far as
another day, another day.
I'm craving a Big Montana at Arby's right now, so let's go eat.
If we get going, there's a midnight showing of Dusk Till Dawn 3, The Hangman's Daughter.
Starring my best friend, Rebecca Gayheart.
two tickets. Yeah, 2 tickets for that sequel you wanted to see.
Yeah, I got those Dusk Till Dawn tickets. So they take off. Rebecca Gayheart's in the back seat. They have this whole fight. Rebecca Gayheart gets propelled yet again out of something. She gets flown out of this car and she's like, and she flies and
get off the bridge.
Dude, if I ran a window installation business, my commercial would be Rebecca Gayheart going through 2 different windows and be like having window trouble, like call me to fix your window installation.
I'm your guy.
I am your guy. And it just be like that. And it'd be like that scream that.
The title of your business. Oh!
We're coming at you.
Yeah.
She flies out. We assume she dies from the impact of the water. Cut to 35 years later.
And we got the cast stunt doubles from this next scene.
Dude, that's how it feels. Like it feels like it's all these like characters that are like kind of like rip-offs of everything we just watched.
Yeah, they look like generic versions of the people that we just saw killed.
It's like watching like Saved by the Bell, the new class, and you're like, I don't know about that.
You're
like,
supposed to be the new Zach Morris.
Yeah, it's like I think they're trying something, but it's not working.
Yeah.
So
and
here's my question. So set it up because I got a question.
That's fine. I'm going to wrap up this discussion.
Movie. Okay.
They talk about this urban legend because I mean, this has to be just like a few months later,
I guess.
And they talk about this urban legend that happened at the school. Camera pans around and it cuts to this girl, and it's clearly Rebecca Gayheart, and she's like, "That's not how the story went. Let me tell you how it really went."
But they make a joke because they're like, don't they say something like, "Yeah, the killer was the Noxzema girl" or something? And it's like,
which is a good joke. It's a total dated joke.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, she was a Noxzema girl in real life.
But that's urban legend. So what's your
my question for discussion is that so essentially the movie kind of sets it up at the end. If you're watching it, you'd think that like, yeah, it actually did happen and she lives.
Yeah.
Right. And this is her on a different college campus. She's going for another degree
in urban legend college.
Yeah, she's going for her third degree in urban legends. So it could set it up though that this movie was just a giant urban legend in itself, and that her, like all the laws broken with physics, with her like being able to lift all these dead bodies around, is an exaggeration because what we just watched was a giant urban legend and it didn't really happen.
Okay.
It could be taken that way.
I think Chris's review is going up one more Rotten Tomatoes point.
Yeah. So essentially, like when I got done watching this for the first time, I was assuming that like, oh, she's still alive and she's on a different college campus. But what we could also say is that none of this movie was real, and it's just an urban legend in itself, and these kids are just discussing it.
I think it's good, but now you're giving it like if David Lynch made urban legend.
Well, to kind of shoot that down, the character Reese pops up in Final Cut, the next movie. So kind of like I feel like it maybe.
Oh, okay, yeah, and I know I think they ruin it with the second movie by establishing that this was all like a real event.
No, well, also because when the killer gets caught, or or not caught, but the last scene of the sequel, I think the protagonist is being wheeled out of the hospital, and surprise, surprise, it's Rebecca Gayheart pushing her out of the hospital.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, now that you said that, I realized I've watched the sequel.
I do remember that. Yeah,
you just unlocked the memory in my mind. I was like, oh yeah,
memory unlocked.
But I like the way you're looking at it, Matt. That's kind of cool because now officially too, if this whole movie was an urban legend, so now you're saying that the dean getting killed by the ankles and the tire spikes and the gun, that is now officially an urban legend.
Which is the point of the movie, is to make sense of that scene. Yes.
Oh, it's a way to retcon all of the inconsistent urban legends and make them reality.
Did you hear about the guy who drank the Drano and Pop Rocks? Yeah, killed him. Don't combine those. Yeah, it's bad. Don't do that.
Who knew that Drano and Pop Rocks could kill you?
He tied himself up to a toilet and drank Drano and Pop Rocks. How did he do that?
Oh my God. So that's Urban Legend 1998. I'll start off. This movie as a kid, I absolutely loved it. It was a really big deal for me. It does not hold up in that sense, but it still kind of has like a special place in my heart because it was part of that whole like phenomena. I would probably say it's too long, man. If you tighten this bad boy up, I think it's at least more enjoyable.
Yeah.
I'll give it a 40%. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking about it. I mean, if you would have talked to 1998, Chris, I probably would have given like a 95%. But I would say 40% on my end. So what about you, Hanto?
Again, it's like I watched this as a kid, really enjoyed it because of the boom in slasher movies at the time. Scream 2. This I know you did last summer, so I really enjoyed it. But this movie today does absolutely nothing for me.
Yeah.
I enjoyed talking about it because it was very fun. But this is a really, really low scoring movie for me. I would say like in the teens, probably.
Really?
Yeah, this movie is horrible, but
wow. Okay.
Fun to talk about. Really fun to talk about.
So wait, what would you give it?
I'd say probably like 15%.
15. Okay.
Holy shit! If you gave this 15%, what's Valentine at?
Well, we didn't do scores back then, but I think it was close to an F score. It was horrible.
So it was like so that would be like in a 10.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I think this guy didn't really make any movies, so I think we know why, just based off these two movies.
I would say I would probably give it about a 25%. I don't think it's a very good movie. I think it falls down on the writing. I think the writing needs to be stronger. We said like how we can make this movie better. I think the concept's cool.
Oh yeah,
but
absolutely.
It needs to be delivered better, and it's just a lot of the logic in the movie makes no sense, and it's kind of like it's frustrating to watch. And it's not the kind of frustrating logic where it's like, why did that person run in that room?
Like run back upstairs or something,
Yeah, it's not that kind of logic. It's like it's just a lot of like the killer's logic, the protagonist's logic. It's just kind of like it ruins the movie for you, makes it frustrating to watch.
And the whole idea of like, Danielle Harris's character dying and then somehow wrote the blood on the wall, and they're like, oh, it's obviously suicide. And at least the logic comes from the main character. It's like, how? That's not like, no.
So it earns a low score for me because it's a really cool concept that's poorly delivered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, actually, when I take it back, I said 40. I think I'm rating it higher based on nostalgia aspects because like I said, so I mean, I'll just drop it down a few. I'll probably say 35, but it's a shame because I'll probably never watch this movie again. And as a kid, I watched it so many times, but like,
well, if you watch it again, you have to make sure you have 2.5 hours of free time to watch it on the streaming channel.
But if this one had, I think I said it had like a 21% Rotten Tomatoes.
Something.
2 has a 9%. 2 has like an all-star cast. So the main characters of 2, Evan Mendes, Anthony Anderson.
Yeah.
Who's the girl from House? Plays, I can't think of her. Kate Bosworth? No. She reminds me of Kate Bosworth.
She was in Star. No. Yeah, I'm thinking Kate Bosworth.
Whoever. Anyway.
Yeah.
So like those 3. It's a big cast of like before they were big type people.
Right.
But I would be totally on board to do Urban Legends too. I know how
it might be interesting. It might be interesting
No. I was like, no way. No, we're good. I think
we see that
Jennifer Morrison.
Thank you. Now that I see that the third one has 40%, I will be watching the third one though. I am very interested in checking one.
This is bonkers to me.
What?
Urban Legends Final Cut was directed by John Ottman.
Was it really?
The composer? Yeah, the composer John Ottman.
Who did the score for Halloween?
X-Men First Class. Oh, did he? Oh yeah,
he did like Superman Returns. He's done a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff.
That's so random.
Stick to composing, my friend.
Well, I guess on that note, I guess we will do Urban Legends 2 at some point. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap up Urban Legends. Our next episode is a very special episode because it's released on a very special day. We're doing Ridley Scott's Alien, which out of all of us, I've only seen it once, and I saw it like 15 years ago.
This is
I remember nothing from this movie except for like some of the major scenes.
This is a classic. This is a classic movie.
So when you put that out on the 23rd, though, right?
Yeah, in preparation. Alien Day.
Alien
Day is on 4/26 because they go to that planet LV 4/26. So that's why the significance of Alien Day exists. I think it's only been around for. I think it's only been around for maybe 2015 when either Prometheus or Covenant came out. Matt and I went to theaters and saw Alien
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
in like a weird. I can't remember what type of theater it was. It was like
it was like a THX Dolby Digital theater with like the sound seats coming out of the seats.
Yeah, and then I remember because after the movie, they showed us like it was like a 10-minute preview of Covenant, I think.
Yeah,
something like that. But yeah, so 426. That's the significance of why we're covering Alien.
Yeah. So I'm excited to rewatch it because it has been a while. I don't really have an opinion on it. I remember thinking it was okay. And I think it's just okay because for me, Aliens is a highlight of that series. And I feel like I was so spoiled watching Aliens so many times. Now I'm afraid going back and watching Alien, I'm going to be like, yeah, it's okay. I mean, do you guys personally think Aliens is better than Alien?
No. I'm very like back and forth on them. I love Alien. I think Alien's one of the most like clever horror sci-fi movies like ever. I think it's one of those clever movies like ever. Just how big of a game changer it was. Like,
and it's like surprising. Like Aliens is very good. Like I think it's a very good action movie. But Alien is a very, very good horror movie. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. And I think Aliens, and obviously Aliens wouldn't exist without Alien. So it's like, of course, like, so I have to, if I'm going to do my favorites, Alien would probably have to be my favorite.
Alien's great. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then after that, we got a listener request for Urban Legend 2. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and discuss that.
And then we'll be following it up with The Hangman's Daughter from Dust Above 3.
The Hangman's Daughter. So we got big movies to cap off the month. But no, if you have any requests for any future months or any topics you want to see covered, or
what do we should probably like talk about some future months again that we have coming up, and we should probably we should probably like announce it on the Facebook so people know.
Sure. Yeah, we don't have May's. I don't think we have May in yet, do we?
May's. I was trying to think about. I don't think we really have May planned yet.
We discussed the Superior sequels.
That's yeah.
So if you want to do that, we could
right into Aliens. We
could Urban Legend Final Cut, and The Hangman's Daughter.
But I think June we talked about. June's going to be our summer like beach month, where it's like summer movies. So we've got like we've talked about that several times. I think we've got that list pretty much like stacked. So
but yeah, I think that's as far as we got. How about by next episode we have a couple months planned? We'll tell the listeners what we got, and we can get some recommendations or requests for that. But when you do send us anything, you can hit us up on Facebook. You can email us at
cinemacultpodcast@gmail.com. And make sure you request that Hangman's Daughter as your request.
Please do. We will do it. We don't say no to request.
We don't say no.
But thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show. We enjoyed making it. I'm Chris.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Honto.
And we'll see you next time. Here. 3, 2.
My head's facing on that. Okay, go ahead.
Right, 3, 2, 1. Matt, you got some light on your face. You look kind of deathly ill.
This is about as much. That's what I said.
Just because of the shadows on your face, you have like no light.
No,
on your face.
I told you it's the allergies, dude. It's just the
no, it's not the allergies, Matt. Your back. Your background is lit. Yeah, your background's lit very well, and then you were very dark.
All right, I'll move the sun.
Don't you? I thought you have a light you put on your face.
I do. I'm using all of it. Like it's not working.
Oh, really? That's a bummer. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll be doing this.
It's weird. Like it's really weird how the light works on these things. But go ahead. All right, let's just go into it. I look fine.
When you introduce yourself, like I'm Chris, I'm Matt, and I'm Dracula. And I'm Salem's Lot.
I am Forsaken.
I'm Forsaken.
That's the vampire movie you chose. I'm Blade 2.
And I'm Near Dark. All right. And
I'm Blade. I'm from Dusk Till Dawn 3, The Hangman's Daughter.
That was good.